Hey guys, this will be a dungeon walkthrough for Galakrond's Vault. We'll just go over one of the VODs that I recently posted of a 31 that we did on Fortified Volcanic Spiteful. So we start off with Invising. We're going to pull 4 Rippers with the boss. It's a pretty normal pull in high keys. For lower keys, like you don't really have to do that. You can just kill the trash off the boss and then pull for safety, but it's definitely way slower. So the first thing, I'm going to pull this Ripper with Judgment instead of this one. That's because there's a patrol there. If you pull this Ripper, you can get an extra Time Slicer. Not the end of the world, but, you know, every Time Slicer kind of adds up. In tank damage, this Tempo Slice gives you a debuff that you have to AoE stop. Or just take the debuff to the face. A lot of people end up just taking it to the face like I did there. It's not that big a deal, but, you know, every little bit counts. So start off dropping the Consecrate. If you notice the move I just did there, so we drop the Consecrate and then we step back to drop the puddle, so we still have room in the Consecrate to play off the sand puddle. Just using like the whole radius of the Consecrate, basically. Once the boss does his jump, if it's close, usually I'll try to step in, like this is a really good spawn, so I'll just step into it. If it's far, I'll leave it up to range. So usually the second one's far, so I'll say, oh, it's up to you guys. You guys soak. Okay, so the cooldown order there was also Wings, Tier, Ardent on pull. Then once you have to move, when you move, like you're kind of more in danger than usual, so I use Goak there. Then now I have no cooldown running, so but we do have like a Residual Lust and I have Big Consecrate, so I'm basically hoping for RNG. Once I get unlucky, like you know, blocks and parries, once my health dips low, I will use Ferox Rage Heart. So I'm watching my health here. I do have like a bunch of hots. I'm getting kind of lucky. So if I health dropped there, that would be Rage Heart. But I didn't drop, so I didn't use Rage Heart. Okay, then next we have first Chrono Share. First Chrono Share with Trash Alive is kind of deadly. So you notice I had to move out of this puddle. So and this bubble will also last for the Chrono Share. So it's bubble almost every time right there. So we bubble. We have a Word of Glory saved up. So he hits me with the Chrono Share. I'm in bubble. You still get the Heal Absorb. So the Heal Absorb needs to be cleared and then dispelled before your bubble runs out. Otherwise, it's like almost certainly going to be cheat. So the Heal Absorb is cleared. I use my Word of Glory, Druid Hots, and then he dispels it. And we have Carnival here. I'm hopefully kicking. Yeah, a bit slow, but we got the kick. After bubble, this is just how I do it with my healer. I say after bubble, it's Bark. We have Bark, Tier. Probably won't push Ardent here. Maybe I will. And then we have Sentinel right after that. So we Bark and Tier. And then, yeah, I didn't push Ardent, and I should Ardent here, I think. Yeah, we Ardent here because we know when he drops a sand puddle is a danger moment because you have to move. Moving is like always one of the scariest parts because you have to get out of the sand area quickly. I think it just reduced haste, and also mobs have a chance to like hit you not in the front, so it's a lot better. And you're like out of your Consecrate sometimes, so it's important to cover yourself in those situations. Also, we just have like Rage Heart still up and Wings coming up, so like there's no way I'll run out of defensives here at this point in the pull. So the first jump, I think I actually go to this because I'm feeling pretty confident with Sentinel and Rage Heart. Second one I'm not going to. We Rage Heart. I'm not sure why I Rage Hearted there. I think that was unnecessary. Then we have Pool Drop into Chrono Shear. So this one I actually have a tech that I guess anyone could do this, but I thought of this. So he's going to Chrono Shear. We Wog before the Chrono Shear. So you notice I have no Word of Glory saved up and he's Chrono Shearing me with Ripper still alive. This one I always said basically first one I do bubble, second one is lay on hands into dwarf. Boom, he knocks me instantly on hands into dwarf and the debuff is already cleared. No danger there. From there it's pretty simple. I just Tier and then into Ardent and the boss should die. Or not the boss, the trash should die before I'm in danger again. The healer should kind of be focusing you on this boss too, because everyone else like doesn't really require any healing. So that is also nice. If your healer's AFK on you, then you know this pull will definitely be more difficult. But yeah, there's nothing really else to heal, so they should be watching you pretty closely. Okay, all the trash is dead. Boss is very simple now. We just drop puddles away from the exit and then end at the exit. That's a small min-max, but yeah. So end at the exit, then we go into this area. We almost always want to go left here in this trash pull because of how it lets you pull the coalesced times. We're going to pull this anomaly. So We have a feeling this anomaly is going to live for a bit because we don't have cooldowns, so we're going to do just a normal tech. So if your allies have Shadow Meld, so my Druid and my DH both have Shadow Meld here, and a Taunt key, so that's, Druid and DH. Shadow Priest could do it, but he doesn't have Taunt, right? So they can take aggro on the anomaly, he taunts it, and then when it casts Bloom, he melds. As soon as he melds, I taunt. Technically, you can taunt before he melds. As soon as that Bloom cast starts, you can taunt it. What that does is it basically just negates the Bloom. Technically here, I do have like Trinket, Dwarf, and Bubble coming up. So it shouldn't be a problem unless this guy gets 4 Blooms, but, it's free, right? So he does the Untwist. This Untwist actually hurts quite a bit. I survived it with Ardent into the Golden Valkyrie proc. This pack is kind of dangerous. Anytime there's 2 of these coalesced moments, it's more dangerous for your allies than you. So my healer, basically, when I see 2 moments, I know he's not going to be able to like focus his healing on me. So I have to like be extra careful, basically. This pack, I do know like I have Bubble, Rage Heart, and Dwarf for the Bloom, so I'm not worried about the Bloom. It's mostly this triple strike. You'll notice I used Goak there because Sentinel wasn't up. But yeah, normally like Goak with Sentinel up in 3 seconds is like considered a bit of an overlap, but it's fine on this pack because I know this is one of the more dangerous packs. Sun Twist. Oh yeah, I also shield trinketed the Bloom. If he gets another one, it's probably going to be Bubble if I had to guess. I may choose a Dwarf. We also have Priest, by the way. Priest is a trump on this because you can MD the Bloom. So yeah, this is Bubble. It's better to use Bubble than Dwarf because it saves your healer a global. And this pack is actually very dangerous. So my group focuses down 1 coalesce moment, which means it's it's a bit slower and the anomaly is alive a bit longer. But like I said, we have Dwarf and MD. I think we decide on MD here because it saves a healer global. If I Dwarf, he still has to dispel, right? If we MD, he doesn't have to do anything basically. If your healer is the Priest, then it's probably better to use Dwarf and dispel. But if someone else can take care of it, then it's better. My Priest almost dies to 1 singular moment. These mobs are ridiculously scary. Okay, so now these coalesce times are a lot easier to fight on the edge because you can jump off when they give you the debuff and then jump back on. That's why we're pulling. That's why we're pulling in this order. We want to basically spawn this guy ASAP and then get to the edge. The way we set up interrupts here is like I'll focus kick Skull, DH kicks X, Mage is going to be on purple when it's pulled, and my shields are on the Vault Volley, and Shadow Priest has backup in case I don't get procs. Kind of set focus a bit late there, but yeah. There is also a triple strike in here, but like I'm not really getting hit hard other than that. Like there's no anomalies, and it's really just the triple strike hurting me. This leech eventually walks in. It's purple, so I set hide to the mage. Shadow Priest backup kicks there. And this pack is pretty simple for the paladin. Like once the interrupts are all assigned, you kind of just sit there tanking. You can use a like blind or stun on the triple strike if you want, not required usually. But that would reduce your damage intake. Alright, so that's this. Then we do pretty much the same pull. We pull the patrolling time into some leeches on the side. And basically we just do exactly the same thing. I focus kick Skull. Oh, what just happened there? Our plan is to do exactly the same thing, but it went wrong. Oh, I missed my kick on the volley, which made my Druid low, and then he died. I think he didn't bear form in time also. Because if things get a little bit mayhem here, we have sack on DH, Mage Cotted. I also like one caveat to these packs being pretty easy for the tank is that I'm not allowed to use Rage Heart, Dwarf, or Bubble because I need them for the next anomaly. I think I would be technically allowed to use push one of them here because we have like the melts and master spell, but yeah. If you ever have to like actually heal through a bloom, that's really bad. You don't want to do that. I think I still hold off actually on using them. Maybe? I don't actually remember what I did. Okay, yeah, so we're actually able to hold off on using all 3. just, push paladin buttons, somehow made it to Goak, and then once Goak's over, we have Sentinel, and then it's over for them. It's no way we die there. I guess I used health pot. There's also 4 leeches here, which means I'm like shielding the time and this leech, or using like stun or blind on that leech, and then, the kicks are assigned for the rest of them. Ideally, you only have 3 leeches. 4 leeches can lead to bad RNG or bad, like harder to play. But yeah, with Toll, it's usually fine too. Okay, pulls back to normal. We recovered. Blah blah blah. So this pull may look like this is just 3 mobs, which it is, but you kind of don't want to pull anything with this on Fortified because once again, it's a double moment pack. Your healer is going to be struggling on this pack. The anomaly, like once you figure out how to cheese the blooms, like as a paladin, it's just tank trinket into bubble, into dwarf, into mass dispel. This guy is not that threatening, especially without the triple strike guys with him. But your healer will be struggling on this pull, so should probably just pull this by itself. We actually do focus down a moment in this pull. Not the best for time, but it's for safety. And this is kind of just the same. On Tyrannical, I usually chain that pack with this pack with double fusions and a moment. But on Fortified, like those moments are super scary. We just finish them off. So this pack only has 1 moment and it has 2 fusions. That means you're more in danger than your group. Your healer should be able to cover like 1 moment. It's when there's 2 debuffs that it becomes really scary. These fusions are pretty scary. You notice I have no cooldown here except Big Consecrate. The best thing about them, the best way to counterplay that is you can use like stops like stuns, blinds, whatever on the triple strike. As a paladin, I kind of just need like a little bit of time to get my cooldowns up, so I think this was Hodge into blind. Okay, I didn't blind. I just Goak came up, so I guess it was fine. Normally that would be Hodge into blind if Goak wasn't coming up so soon. I have Sentinel back, 1 Sentinel's back, we're just chilling. Can't really die to this pack. Oh, I also cheated. Wait, let me see where I cheated. Oh, wait. Oh, I remember. I cheated to this. He untwisted me, and I like was running away to the next pack, and I just walked on so early. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, we pull 1 leech to the boss for some fundle. Priest gets Twist of Fate. If your team has Signet Brand, they get to keep it, except my DH. Okay, this is definitely a bug, right? Look at this. Boom. An interval just randomly spawns on my Demon Hunter and melees him. It makes no sense. I don't know why it's a bug, so rip all the Signet Brand stacks. We go into this boss. This boss is kind of annoying for Paladin because you keep having to move out of your Consecrate. But it's also kind of good for Paladin, I guess, because Chronofaded can be hard to heal, and you're able to make it a lot easier. The way we do that, basically, is my DH there's 2 Chronofades every minute, and DH blurs on a 1-minute cooldown, so I just sack every other I sack, and then he blurs after. If there's like a squishier class in your group, then you would use sack for them, obviously, but our classes are pretty tanky, so I just sack the DH every other. It's important to note that this boss's melees are pretty heavy. So when you're using your sack, you need to basically have a cooldown running. Otherwise, like, don't sack. You will actually potentially die. Maybe not on Fortified, but on Tyrannical, this boss is super scary for tanks. Non-Vengeance Demon Hunter tanks, that is. Okay, this boss is pretty simple as a tank. I just sack every other on DH and then dodge the balls. That's pretty much it. You can always look for spell wards and lays also on this boss. If you do spell ward, it's kind of better to like pre-spell ward the Chronofade. If someone has spell ward and the boss picks them, then you'll just get 1 debuff, which basically negates the entire difficulty of the mechanic for the healer. So yeah, that is a good play you can make. And you can also lay on hands if someone's like about to die. Let me see if I actually do that spell ward. I don't think I do. This boss is like really easy on Fortified. Yeah, I don't spell ward. Boss is too easy. Okay, so after the boss, we rezone. I have a pre-saved talent build called Fall Rezone. Basically, we're taking Golden Path because it helps heal Chromie a lot later. And I also want to avoid it. I think I could drop this Obduracy for Double Horse, but it's like kind of not a big deal. The avoidance is kind of useful on the dragon pulls. And the second boss's tank buster is avoidance, so Abdurrah's is kind of useful there. We swap shield for single target shield, also probably not needed, but most of the time here is going to be spent fighting one target, so it's fine, I guess. And since I'm playing Sentinel, this half of the dungeon is kind of easy, so I just drop the block for Inspiring Vanguard. One thing I forgot to do, usually I play no cheat here. I would drop the cheat death trinket, especially it's on cooldown for Signet Brand. Signet Brand is extremely strong on the last boss of Galakrond. It's a long fight. You can pre-build stacks. And on top of that, you also get a haste buff throughout the fight. And a monster haste buff at the end. And Signet Brand scales with haste. Okay, so now we're all inside. We're just waiting for my DH to do the RP. I think he had some mishap here. So that's why the RP is taking a bit longer than usual. Just like a massive time loss, kind of, but I guess it's fine. 31 is easy on time, surely. It's fortified. We have no lust, so we're just going to do one dragon at a time. These dragons are kind of hard for Paladin tank. The one thing to note is that once the chunks die, they give a stacking buff to the dragon, which can be soothed. But most, every soothe has a cooldown, right? So you shouldn't expect instant soothes. Basically, once all the chunks die, I should be fearing for my life. So I Ardent there. This died kind of smoothly, so I don't need to commit bubble. I think he just soothes off 10 stacks all at once. You can see me noticing I don't have a trinket there. So he just soothes off all the stacks all at once, and it's easy. If your healer or no one in your group has a soothe, then you need to be committing like major cooldowns when all the chunks die. Okay, so that's that. Then it's literally the same pull over and over again. This trash is kind of bad design in my opinion. Just roll your cooldowns like one at a time. You have Sentinel. After Sentinel, it's probably going to be Tear. After Tear, it's probably going to be Ardent or Bubble, if I had to guess. Yeah, it's Ardent. If you're doing double here, it's good to bubble once all of them die. I don't know why I'm not bubbling. This would be it. Actually, I actually cheated, by the way, because I didn't bubble. This is a mistake. Boss has 5 stacks, and I'm low. This should have been bubble for sure. But I was like, oh, it's big consecrate. Should be enough. That's a mistake. This should have been bubble. Okay, we cheated. Okay, and then we changed because we have 2-minute cooldowns up. Yeah, that was actually really bad to not bubble there. All right, and that's it. You notice I didn't use sack. When you bubble, you probably should sack in these pulls, but I just forgot. Actually, I didn't even bubble, so I should. Yeah, that was really bad not to bubble. Should have bubbled earlier, and then when you bubble, you sack, which makes healing this a lot easier. You can also use spell word if needed, or lay on hands. So we have a kind of a scripted spell word on the next fight. So I would normally wouldn't spell word here, but bubble and lay on hands are definitely usable. All right, this boss. So phase 1 is really easy for your healer. The group's not really taking damage. And our group actually commits a lot of shadow melts here because phase 2, we have a really good external strategy. And phase 3 is actually the hardest. Phase 3 is the hardest, so we just meld here and it's up for phase 3. These infusions you can take instantly if they ever go off. None go off in our group because we just meld them all. But if they do go off, you can take them instantly because you see the corrosion of fusion is in 4 seconds, reclamation in 13, and you won't get MC'd if you take the debuff instantly. Phase 2 is a little bit different. You'll notice we're doing some fake poop technology. What happens here is the bug basically is that the boss drops real poop under him. That's a normal thing. But if that normal poop is in an old puddle, like old puddles are basically always fake. So one bug is that the puddles like stay on the ground even though they don't do anything. But the useful part is if you drag him on top of an old puddle, then instead of growing his own real puddle, he'll grow the fake puddle. So that means all the poop basically is fake except like this little area that we dragged him from. Anyway, so that's the fake poop technology people keep asking about. For these infusions, we have a strategy. It's just sack first, bark second, and spell word third, or sack third. If I think I end up using sack here because the phase is so short because we have lust and 2 minutes. So this was sack. Usually it's once you see the second wind spawn, you can take the debuff, so you don't have to pass twice. So we take debuff, and I shouldn't have to pass this one again. So yeah, he's casting this. I have 3 seconds on debuff, 2 point something on the reclamation. It's actually kind of close, so make sure the second wind actually spawns before you take debuff. Poop is all fake. You can see these noob casters staying out because they don't know about it. This is bark on Yeezus. So it's sack, bark, and I think we just did sack, bark, sack on this one. Second wind spawn, I take the debuff. Taking the debuff, by the way, is actually a pretty big hit. You should probably use like a personal. By personal, I mean like tank cooldown. Here I had tier running, so I didn't necessarily need to Goak, but like this part actually hurts the most, way more than the next phase for you. So it's okay to overuse. Okay, so that was Goak into Ardent on the tank buster, and this should be sack since the boss is phasing. Yep. Alright, so this part I decided not to use fake poop tech because it's much more important to keep the bosses stacked. This Dajak, the aggro doesn't really matter, but it's better to start on top of him because he moves on his own. He doesn't move like based on following the tank. So it's better to just pull on top of him. So we pull the Lost Kaleth. Infusion's coming up. Everybody has Shadow Meld in my group. Like we have 1, 2, Invis, and Meld. So this is basically guaranteed to miss, which is really useful if you have a full Shadow Meld group. If you don't have, then you can get unlucky and you have to play Hot Potato in this phase. If you do have to play Hot Potato, then usually it'll go on someone, you take it, then like you spell ward someone, then you spell ward someone to pass to them, then you take it back. Then like hopefully someone else has an immunity and you pass to them and you take it back. So this Blight Breath is also baited on players. So ideally your people like don't have their back to the wall. That way this guy jumps like into a better spot for you. That's why when I'm calling breath bait, so you see like this right now, I'd probably be calling bait. We should all be standing over here to bait the Blight Breath like into the open area while staying near the other dragon. So we bait. It's like, yeah, so this is pretty good. And the dragons stay stacked. For the Necrofrost, you can freedom. Make sure the root applies before your freedom. I'm actually not sure if it's still a bug, but there was a bug before. If you pre-freedom, then they would keep the dot. But yeah, you just wait for it to apply, then you freedom. If you're not playing Paladin, like you can use any Disorient. We'll also get rid of it. He used Fear there, so this bait is not ideal. We have to run like through it, basically. It's not bad, but it's not ideal. So we have another Infusion coming up. This one, if it picks the Priest, we'll have to play the game, but I think it didn't. Yeah, it picks the DHE Melds. Nice game. Onward. Okay, so that's this boss. Then we do this pack. Normally I would shield this. I don't know why I didn't shield this. It would shield this, so then someone gets second interrupt, but yeah. Did a weird order here. I noticed Toll is on cooldown here. That's not ideal. You want to pull usually I want to pull this pack with Toll, just because it's like a hard gather. When you're doing hard gathers, it's usually better to like Toll insta pull instead of waiting for 5 stacks. But yeah. So I was like, oh shit, Toll is down. I have to quickly go in and blind these. Into probably Consecrate Tier, if I had to guess. Okay, so the blind was good enough for aggro, I guess, so I didn't need to tier insta. Ideally, you would have Toll up coming into this, so you don't have to do that like scuffed blind. But that's what we did going in. This pull, usually the way it goes is I set focus to the Chronomancer, so that's my kick. Then all of these creations are either AoE stops or single stops. So I'm like tabbing through, trying to find the correct one to Avenger's Shield. And if I fail to find the correct one, then it's an AoE stop used. But if you use an AoE stop for every single Stone Bolt, then eventually you run out. So basically the game is like look for single stops. If we fail, then it's an AoE stop. This pack does kind of hurt, so it's important to roll a cooldown. There I went Sentinel into Goak. After Goak, it will most likely be Bubble. I could see myself trying to like ego it with Big Consecrate. Obviously my Consecrate bugs. So I should be bubbling pretty soon, in theory. Yeah, okay, so that's Bubble. After Consecrate, it should be Ardent. After Ardent, we have Tier into Wings, so we're safe for the rest of the pack. This pack is super simple if you do this separate. It's just focus kick on the Chrono Weaver, everyone kick creation, don't die to Rippers. Very simple. Okay, then we pull the boss. So Paladin actually can be super useful to your healer on this boss. A lot of healers may struggle with healing Chromie because it loses the mana, but Paladin has it in their toolkit to be extremely useful on Chromie. So we meld that. Then I'm going to soak. The way we have it set up is I sack the Demon Hunter, and I think he barks one of the casters. I'm going to use Tank Trinket on this. If you're Tank Tricketing this, it's better to wait for the first hit, then use Trinket. That way, like, see how I'm missing some health here? This health can be healed up while you have the Absorb on. If you just Tank Trinket, like, before you even get hit, then you're unable to be healed, and, like, the first one might break your Trinket, and then the second two might kill you if you don't have a cooldown. But it's if you use it after the first hit, then usually like residual AoE healing will catch you before the third tick hits. Basically, it makes it so you only have to be healed between the first and the third tick rather than the second and the third tick, which is like marginally easier to do. Not as big a deal for tank, but if you're a DPS using a shield, then it's better to do it that way. If you're a tank, like, you don't have a cooldown, then you could have potentially died tier 2. Anyway, so about Paladin and Chromie on this fight, I'm going to be staying near Chromie the whole time so that my Lightforged Blessing hits her. Chromie actually has extremely high max health and takes increased healing. So Lightforged Blessing is crazy on her. It's like double dipping. Golden Path is also good at healing her. You'll notice, like, if you look at the HPS, like, notice how I'm really high on it. That doesn't mean I'm healing more, really, than my Druid. It just means I'm healing Chromie more. Like, he's basically healing the party, and I'm healing Chromie, is the way this works. So yeah, that is how you make this fight a lot easier. Ideally, I would have a Signet brand, so my damage wouldn't be super low, but it is what it is. Okay, also, something I found important, you want to have Divine Toll available for when these spawn, because the cast can be somewhat annoying, so can aggro, but if you have Toll, it's just insta-solved. This boss has a couple of phases where he actually hurts the tank, so this one, like right after he spawns the ads, he does like 10 melees, I think, and he applies this debuff depending on if you parry or not. So if you get unlucky here, you can just bubble, and it'll drop the stacks. This particular phase of the fight is where you would want to bubble every time, either this or the Stonecracker. But usually, since I have Tank Trinket, I'll just use the Tank Trinket for every barrage. It's always up. 2 minutes are like sometimes not up, but 130s are always going to be up for the Stonecracker. I think. I've never, at least for me, it's never not been up. Maybe on like a +5 key and the shield gets broken instantly, you'd have a problem. Okay, so it's one hit into Tank Trinket as always, and we're super safe. All right, and that's pretty much the fight. You see I'm killing Chromie again here. But yeah, nothing really more to it. Once you get to the burn, I guess you could just go over the rotation. It's pretty simple. Once you get to the burn, you just use Hammer of Wrath and Judgment the whole time, as much as possible. You have so much haste in CDR, you can kind of just use them every global. Shield is not the best global here, because you don't have... Actually, we have single target shield, so shield is not a bad global. But you want to be doing hammers and judgments as much as possible. Alright, that's the fight. That's the dungeon. Thanks everyone for watching. Catch me on Twitch if you want, and peace out.